What's up, nerds? Alioth comes out on Monday, and people are pretty excited about it. But should you spend your hard-earned collector's tokens on him, or open some spotlight caches? We will be answering those questions and checking out some potential deck lists. But first, let's check out some interactions and how the card will actually function when you play it. Alioth reads, destroy all enemy cards played here this turn, including unrevealed cards. So a couple of things I do know about how Alioth works when you play it is that cards like Null and Death will take into account the unrevealed cards that Alioth destroys. Also, you might have seen this happen before, but like when a Wolverine is destroyed but unrevealed, it's happened to me before when playing against Galactus decks. If Wolverine or any other card that says when this is destroyed, you know, Colossus, Bucky Barnes, stuff like that, if they're face down and Alioth is played, it will permanently destroy the card. This is because the card has to be like face up for its ability to actually be in effect, so that's the reasoning for that. Also, if Alioth is moved, say with Juggernaut or Arrow or Stegron or something, its effect will only take place where it's actually turned face up. Can't really think of any other interactions or stuff that might be tricky or confusing with this card, but if you think of any, let me know in the comments. Let's go over some good and bad aspects of the card. Bad first, if you are behind on board at all, Alioth's not going to be very good. At least, I mean, there are some situations where he could win you the game if you're losing two different lanes, but in reality, those situations are going to be close to none. It's a lot like Leader in that regard. If you guys played during the time where Leech Leader decks were really prevalent, if you weren't ahead in two lanes and then you played a Leader, it just didn't win you the game because the opponent's ahead and whatever you copied didn't matter because it wouldn't put you over the top. Alioth is going to work out pretty similarly. Also against Armor and Cosmo, just in the lanes that they're in, Alioth is going to be straight up doo-doo. I could also see it not be very good against move cards like Silk, Craven, those decks going around right now, or just any deck that plays like Heimdall. You could get some of their cards by playing Alioth, but their power is going to shift anyway, so it's going to be a little weak there. The good? Pretty much every other scenario. I think one of the other main positives of Alioth is the cube rate he's going to have. Much like Shang-Chi, Enchantress, turn 6 tech plays, he's going to steal a bunch of games where the opponent is confident, and then you just completely get him with your Alioth. With that stuff out of the way, let's get to some deck lists. So first up, we have a Sandman Odin deck. This list is already proven, and it's not too good right now, but it's been good in the past, and the playlines of this deck is the type of deck that Alioth would just slot right into and shine in. You play out your scaling 1-drops and Sunspot Nebula, you ramp into a Sandman or Professor X. If you play Professor X, you're pretty much locking up a lane and winning that lane. If you're playing a Sandman, it's going to be hard for the opponent to win 2 lanes at the same time. And then you just lock the game out with an Alioth. But I think it's going to be particularly good here and pretty cute because you can do Arnim Zola Alioth stuff. So sort of like Dr. Doom, where it's like, oh, they could play in one of the other 2 lanes and you don't know which one to play in. You could just do Alioth and Arnim Zola, blowing up all the things they do on the last turn of the game. Pretty solid. Next up is Galactus. I mean, Galactus isn't as good as it used to be, but when it had Spider-Man to lock up the lane after you did Wave into Galactus and then you played Spider-Man, it really pissed a lot of people off. I don't think it was that good, but people got so mad at it that it got nerfed, even though Galactus didn't seem overly strong at the time. Well, now that scenario is sort of back with Alioth. Wave into Galactus, play Alioth on the last 2 turns of the game. You can't win against that. Also, Galactus now has like backup plans with Nimrod Destroyer stuff, but with Alioth, we now have a 3rd backup plan where you can do Arnim Zola Alioth stuff, or if you have like Electro, you can go Electro into Nimrod, into Destroyer, into Alioth. So yeah, I don't personally think Galactus decks are that great at the moment, but this can make them a little bit better. Last deck up is a high evolutionary wave deck that are particularly good right now. I really like running this deck on the ladder to combat all the Loki stuff. And essentially this is the same deck that you would see on the ladder right now, but Alioth instead of Dr. Doom. Basically these decks win by going really strong in one lane with Sunspot Nebula Misty Knight, soaking up energy, making your Cyclops trigger, playing Storm to lock a lane down, and then on turn 5 you play Wave, restricting your opponent to only playing 1 card, and then you either slam a big Hulk in the lane you're losing to flip that lane, or in the other decks you would play Dr. Doom to spread power across all the lanes. Instead, you can have Alioth here. So if you're ahead in 2 lanes and then you play wave, you can throw down an Alioth to basically guarantee yourself the win. Another version of this, running Professor X and like Daredevil, could be really solid. It's sort of how the High Evil lockdowns looked about a month ago. But it would look just like this, but you would probably have Professor X instead of Wave, Daredevil instead of, I don't know, America Chavez or something, and then throwing in Professor X, and then you basically got a lockdown list. So, is Alioth going to be worth your collector's tokens or opening up those spotlight caches? I think so. I think the hype is a little overblown at the moment, but Alioth is just, it's going to make already good decks strictly better, and it has the potential for some nerd out there to come up with some nonsense deck that just ends up pissing people off. That's all I got for Alioth. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to check out a link in the description of a new Marvel Snap comedy show I am co-hosting called The Snappening. We satirize everything that's going on in Marvel Snap with guest appearances from some of your favorite content creators. We had Kawa, Eggs, Super Tech God, and Loopy Fist on the last episode. It was really cool. Check it out. But for now, that's it. See you, nerds.